All right, let's get into our first discussion this morning. The Defense Headquarters in Nigeria has branded the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, a militant terrorist organization.
Well, it also told parents to dissuade their wards from joining the group. Defense spokesman Major General John Enneche said the armed forces is committed to confronting all security challenges facing the country.
Now, he said the IPOB posed a security challenge and listed these reasons for branding IPOB a terror group. And he said that the formation of a Biafra Secret Service, the claimed formation of Biafra National Guard, unauthorized blocking of public access roads, extortion of money from innocent civilians at illegal roadblocks.
Well, others include militant possession and use of weapons on a military patrol, and then physical confrontation of troops by Nnamdi Kanu and other IPOB actors. Well, we have a security consultant, Dennis Amakre, in the studio now to talk to us more about this development that trended over the weekend across the country. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Yes, first off, are you in support of the government's action of prescribing IPOB?
I think that should have been done a long time ago. You know, we actually discussed it here before when they had the Biafra Secret Service. You know, I am a veteran of the Nigerian Secret Service, and I was shocked totally for a parallel organization being formed within the country, and I think that was treason as far as I'm concerned. You know, somebody is trying to undermine the sovereignty of this country. So I think, yes, it was right to proscribe that organization, and then, of course, whatever actions they deem necessary to follow.
All right. Now, knowing that the BSS, or as it is called, the Biafra, so-called Biafra Secret Service, it was formed several months ago. Yes. And knowing, just like you said, it's treasonable and it undermines the sovereignty of this country, we were thinking that they should have even gone for the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu before now.
Yeah, well, we have to praise the military for that, because they've taken their time. If you see some of the videos that have been going viral, you see the IPOB members waving their flags and confronting the soldiers, and the soldiers were standing and looking at them. You know, so they've restrained themselves to make sure that they don't run into it. Maybe they feel that they were just practicing their Boy Scout skills, you know, because I cannot imagine where you have to sew uniform and give to people. In fact, it's funny because you're calling some people Secret Service and they're actually in uniform, and then they are standing and you are taking salute from them. I think that was very, very, very insulting.
All right. Yeah, over the weekend, there were many reactions to it. Some were saying that the military is not even the right organization or part of the government to make that announcement,
to declare,
because
yes,
we are in the civilian rule, and it's supposed to be from the president. Of course, if the defense headquarters is acting like this, it means that it got the nod of the president. So why not come out as the president of the nation and say so? Because under the law at the moment,
yes,
it can be said that that ban on IPOB is illegal.
Yeah, they need to gazette it, because, and the defense headquarters is not the people to announce that. Because, you know, that's another area that you might say, okay, the defense people went wrong. But there is a process. There's a process of declaring any group, a terrorist group, from our Terrorist Prevention Act of 2013. It's very clear there, the processes that are there of what to do. But what they need to do right now to make it legal is to gazette it, to pass it through the Attorney General, and then follow the normal procedure.
From the President to the Attorney General, and then to the Supreme Court.
Yes, and then back to the President for assent.
All right. Now, you were talking about processes of declaring any organization a terrorist group. I wonder if you can take us through just an overview of what the process should be, so Nigerians can have a clear understanding of what it should take if any organization is supposed to be declared a terrorist organization?
Well, just like I said, if any group is behaving or trying to act as terrorists, they are supposed to, whichever branch of government or security agency that observes it, should write their report and then submit it to the defense headquarters. The defense headquarters will now look at it and then send a report to the High Court. And then the High Court will also look at it and then after that send it to the President for accent, where it will be legally gazetted and then declare that they are either proscribed or they are banned or declared as a terrorist group.
All right, let's look at some of the weapons the defense headquarters accused IPOB to have used, and then part of the reasons for saying that it is a terrorist organization. It listed stones, Molotov, you're smiling already. Yeah, Molotov cocktails and some of these weapons, and then you wonder, are these really deadly weapons compared to what other terror groups are using or have used in the past in the country?
Yeah, that's how it starts. And if you look at, I've taken my time to look at the speeches of Nnamdi Kanu and listened or read some of the statements that he has made. He has actually said that they are gathering arms and they need more money to gather more arms. That's one. And then, of course, he had been busy challenging that he's going to deal with other people, he's going to deal with Nigeria, he will bring them down to their knees and all the rest. Now, when somebody is talking like that, definitely you have to preempt the guy to see whether what he's having is correct. But there was one particular evidence. I don't know if you saw it, but when Operation Python Dance was going on, and there was firing at Nnamdi Kanu's house. If you look at that clip very well, you will see somebody inside, not outside, somebody inside that was carrying something like an AK-47 and he was running across to another area. So definitely they have arms. I strongly believe without arms, Nnamdi Kanu cannot just be talking like that.
And with the discovery of many ammunition by Nigeria Customs, almost every time
exactly.
It seems that one has to be very careful.
Because the recent one at the Tin Can Island, one wonders if those, but this is not the first time. This one is the third major discovery of arms this year.
Yes.
And one thing that the investigation would have been concluded, especially for the first and the second.
Yes.
Having a trace or an idea of where those weapons are going.
Yes, it's so funny because in Nigeria, that's my problem. And I've mentioned it here before. We don't investigate issues and come to a logical conclusion. You investigate and after a while, it's off in the air. Nobody's ending up or tying up, wrapping up that investigation. Now we've talked about 3 different arms caches that were discovered by the customs. How many had gone in without our knowledge? Because those were by mistakes.
Exactly.
And I'm very sure there are more that have gone into society that we don't know about.
All right, and of course with different groups like this, for example, IPOB are doing this at this time, and then you wonder really as a Nigerian if there is a higher plan to all this. Because yes, Nnamdi Kanu is saying that he wants Biafra, but hasn't been able to articulate his points. There are leaders of the region that have not come out to say that this is truly what we want for the region. But then you have someone saying all this, and then they didn't check him for so long. Now it has got to this. Some are saying that it is another strategy to marginalize the East. Some are saying that they brought this to their doorstep. So how justified really is this happening at this time in the country?
Well, it is worrisome where this had been going on and the Eastern governors have not done anything about it. Some are giving him tacit support. Ohaneze Ndebo has said that they are not a terrorist group. But the things that they are doing are there, and we expect that this group should call them to caution. Then Odumegwu Ojukwu himself, who declared Biafra the very first time, later said that it is not necessary anymore. And this is in history. Some of these guys were not born when this thing happened. Maybe they've read history, and some of them are gingered up in what they want to do, coupled with some true marginalization that goes on in the East. You know, and that's why people have been talking of restructuring and stuff like that. You cannot cancel the idea that truly there is marginalization going on in Nigeria. But these are things that we expect government to tackle. Because if you don't, because the root causes are what matters right now. If you don't tackle those things, then you will be dealing with symptoms. And after you deal with that symptom, it goes away, another one will come up again. An ideology is being, you know, planted in the heads of people. You know, just like Boko Haram. You don't go and fight and kill Shekau or kill how many terrorists there, but what you need to kill is the idea. And if some people in the East are feeling that, yeah, we're being marginalized and, you know, this is how we are going to have our own independence, our own sovereignty, then the government should tackle that idea, you know, and tell them, no, we are one country and we live in the same country. And
that is quite valid, what you just said about an ideology being planted now, because it seems that Nnamdi Kanu has been able to influence so many young people in the southeastern part of the country. So how important is it, not for the southeastern governors now, because of they won't want to listen to them, they'll say that, okay, yeah, they're still in bed with the central government, but for the government at the center to say that, yes, this person, to single out Nnamdi Kanu and say that he's the one that has erred against the country and not all of you, that as a father of the country, still bring all of them together and then tell them that they're still part of the country and not punish these people for the sin of one person.
Yeah, that's even what we discussed earlier when the president was away for 103 days and came back. You know, Nigeria was actually having a lot of problems. In the north, people were asking Igbos to leave. In the west, we have Oduduwa Republic being declared. In the east, IPOB was very, very rigorously rearing up their own engine. And then, of course, in the south, you have the militants coming up again. There was a resurgence. And when the president came, I expected his advisors to advise him that this is what we have in the plate, you know, and we suggest that this will be addressed properly. He was not given that, that advice. So he came up with the idea of crush any insurgency or any contrary idea that is coming up. And that is what they are following.
Okay. Now that IPOB has been declared a terrorist organization, is this the end of IPOB from what you analyze?
I think what the government had successfully done is to drive IPOB underground, because right now they are going to go underground. You know, and as they go underground, they will be operating from there.
And isn't that more dangerous?
More dangerous. More dangerous, because now you might not even call anybody for a dialogue. And it's replete in many, many countries all over the world where, you know, irredentist groups have gone underground.
Remember the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt.
Exactly. Or the IRA. You know, they went underground and they started operating there, and it was a real serious issue. So now they've proscribed them. They've got, it's like a book. If you write a book and you really want to make money and the government bans it, you make more money. Because it will go underground and people will be buying it in the black market, and that is what's going to happen.
It even makes it more attractive. Now let's look at Rwanda. Remember how it started, the use of radio.
Yes.
The IPOB group has Radio Biafra.
Yes. It's
been using it, and the government has not even been able to locate where it operates from. Now that the group will be forced to go underground, like you just said, how the powerful tool of radio reaching so many people, and then having an ideology implanted into them. How should the government at this point, yes, it has prescribed the group, move forward to ensure that this doesn't degenerate even further?
When they go underground, it becomes a propaganda war. And I think this particular APC government is very good at propaganda. So I expect them to go out, all out, to strengthen their propaganda, because this guy is going to go down there and then he will start a brand new propaganda against the Nigerian state. So they have to also go down there and give a counter, propaganda. Because if they don't, he will continue to do that and gain sympathy all over the world. And gradually, you make him a folk hero. And that's what could happen in future.
And that counter is what we haven't really seen from the government. Especially, we've been talking about, I remember we had you on the program where we talked about countering the ideologies in the Northeast, especially against Boko Haram. We've not really seen that. The National Orientation Agency or Ministry of Information, they've not really come up with that.
That is correct.
But let's see, going back to the issue of the weapons earlier on, it was traced, it was revealed by customs that the 3 arms that were imported, large cache of arms, all came from Turkey.
Yes.
And there were some accusations, even though Turkey has come out to say, well, no, we're not sponsoring IPOB, as the case may be. But reports from this morning, some papers this morning are saying that even disgruntled politicians and all of that assisted IPOB to survive.
In fact, an official, political official in Turkey released a video castigating the Nigerian government, saying that give Southeastern via Biafra, or you face problem in the nearest future. The video is out there.
So what are the greater implications when it comes to diplomatic relations between Nigeria and Turkey in this regard?
I will take your mind back to the first Biafra. During the first Biafra, the war went on, and then a lot of people ran out of the country. In the United States, in fact, I remembered when I first went to school there, when you say you are from Nigeria, they said, is that part of Biafra? That's how bad it was. In fact, in my university, in University of Wisconsin, there was a scholarship for Biafrans. So they went out there and then they gave that propaganda that, they are being killed in Nigeria. There was pictures of hungry children and everything. So anybody that escapes out of that place, was taken care of in the United States. And that is what we're going to see now that they've driven them out on the ground, and they have all these clips about military dealing with some of these people and all the rest. And of course, yes, I saw that video from Turkey. Some people say that was the president.
No, it wasn't the president.
Or it was not the president, who was very angry and insulting our own president. So these are the kinds of things you're going to see. It's a propaganda war now. It's going to be a propaganda war, and we'll keep on saying it. National Orientation Agency, they should stop all this idea about what they are doing and face the real facts. Ministry of Information, don't give us all kinds of information that we know is not correct. They should go in there and face this kind of, propaganda that is going to be emerging now.
All right. Yeah, you said earlier that the government, of course, the APC government should match the propaganda of the IPOB group now with another propaganda, but don't you think that could be a strategy in fertility if that is in power? Because right now, one would think it's best to be transparent for you to gain the larger support of the Nigerian populace, because there is a statement yesterday or earlier today that it's disgruntled politicians and disgruntled groups in the country that are supporting and funding IPOB. And of course, we could hear more of that as the days go by. But then, when you see all this happening, especially the use of force by the Nigerian military, don't you think IPOB will get more sympathy within the country, not from the southeastern region alone anymore, but across the larger part of the south?
Yeah, it depends on how government handles that situation. And when I say propaganda, it's not just false information, give out false information. You know, propaganda is basically information that you are giving to people to influence people. So if you're doing a very good job at influencing people with what you're saying, and then you match it up with action, because you cannot just be lying and then thinking that people will buy it because it's in propaganda. You know, it might succeed in a very short span, but after that, people come to know about the truth, and they just, anything you say does not matter again anymore. So they should match it with action. And they should know, anybody that is deceiving themselves that Nigeria is okay, then it's not very serious. Because a lot of people are disgruntled. A lot of people, even in the north, in Kaduna State.
Not just politicians.
Everywhere. And more than 30 states, you have the military all deployed. You know, we are not in a military regime.
Or we're not in a war.
We are not in a war. Look at what is happening in London, even last night, this morning.
Indeed.
You find out that it's a terrorist situation, but the streets are filled with policemen. You know, you don't call out the British Army to come
for internal problems.
Yeah, to come inside, and you know, I think we are misusing our military a lot. We can understand that, but how do we correct that? Train the police, get the police ready to handle things like this, so that you don't just bring in the military. And the military, when you bring out the military, they go through anywhere, there'll be casualties, there'll be collateral damage.
The place would never remain the same.
Yes.
Oh. Okay, let's bring in Foladele here to give us a perspective on social media, what people are saying. Fola, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Azizat.
Nice to see you.
Good morning, Dennis. Always a pleasure. All right, so let's quickly take the reactions. Mr. Ezuchukwu says, this one Nigeria is indeed a Chinese hoax. Imagine people using the non-existent Biafran passport as an excuse to label IPOB a terrorist group. Userain says, Nigeria is a failed state, no jobs, economy in shambles, IPOB has been declared a terrorist group, Fulani headsmen roam and kill freely. Yangi says, what a country Nigeria is, and he's laughing at that. And he says, IPOB has officially been declared militant terrorist organization. Only this one nation, 2 terror groups. Ayokota says, the 2 terrorist organizations in Nigeria are 1, Boko Haram, 2, IPOB. Both have one thing in common, attacking Nigeria's sovereignty. And last one here from the 12th man, and I would love to get your reaction to this one. He says, in Nigeria, a weaponless IPOB are deemed a militant terrorist group by the army, but gun-wielding Fulani headsmen are yet to earn a name. What would you like to say to that?
Okay, yeah. IPOB is not weaponless. Okay, they have their own weapons. But I agree with the last part of it, where headsmen have been killing all over the place, right from the north down to Enugu, you know, all the down way south. We expect the government to be very, very, we want equity, you know, where you can, those groups, for instance, the Fulani headsmen, if you go to the Global Terror Index, they are listed as one of the most dangerous terrorist groups in the world. And when people refer to them as Fulani headsmen, many people say, oh no, they are not Fulani headsmen, they are just headsmen. You know,
remove the name Fulani.
Yeah, you remove the name Fulani because, you know, there are very important people in government who are Fulanis. No, but this is not Nigeria now. This is the Global Terrorist Index. Anybody can Google it. Go down there, you'll see Fulani headsmen as the most dangerous terrorist group. in the world.
Sir, do you think it's not even so much about the name you're calling which group, but more about the approach, more about how quickly you are to, you know, attack the IPOB, but not, you know, using the same...
Yes, that's why we say that there is inequality in Nigeria, and that's why a lot of people are disgruntled, you know. The government should be seen as being very fair to all. You know, instead of there should be no hypocrisy, inequality or whatever. Take everybody. That's what I was saying. The president should take everybody. He is the father of the nation. Take everybody as your children and then deal with recalcitrant one.
And that's why many are saying that he should stick to his promise when he was sworn in. You belong to everybody and you belong to nobody. Thank you very much, Dennis.
Very well said,
Azizat.
All right.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Fola, for all that.
And thank you, of course,
Dennis,
for coming.
Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, as always.
It's been quite interesting.
Thank you. Let's take a break and then we'll bring our next discussion on board. Stay with us.